It's a very pleasantly warm September the 15th, and so I'm having a couple of hours outside with a pint, and the light is on. We'll see what moths are attracted. I've given it almost a week actually since I last trapped, because the signs were that during the hot weather that we had of last week, the number of moths declined, and it got me thinking about something. That's why I'm sat down. It appears to be currently quiet. Put the light on at 8 o'clock, and it's now just come to 9 o'clock, and there's not been a lot to come in. Admittedly, during some of that time, I was upstairs and finishing off the database and getting that up to date and some bits on the website, but it appears quiet, which is a continuation, it seems, on how things went last week when we had high nighttime and daytime temperatures. Last week, when I reflected on it, I noticed that the number of moths or the number of species declined over the week. I've trapped most nights, not always in the garden here, but I did trap most nights. The first or the second night of the high temperatures was the most productive, and then for some reason, despite subsequent high temperatures remaining throughout that week until the weekend, and nice hot and sunny days, the number of moths actually declined. Whether that was a direct result of the hot weather finishing off the last of the summer moths before the autumn moths have really started to get going, I don't know, but there was a decline in both species and numbers of species. And I want to see tonight, or at least try and get an idea, if that trend has continued and that the hot weather, rather than being really good for local moths, has been apparently or seemingly detrimental. That's the idea of a quiet couple of hours sat in the garden this evening. Sounds like the local wildlife are out and about. I suppose it adds character, you could say, to proceedings, but I do like to be quiet, and as you can tell, they're not very keen on shutting doors quietly. But regarding the moths, not much has come in so far, but there have been 3 silver wires. Maybe that's a sign of some migration, I don't know. But one moth that has come in is this one. This is Hypsipygia glossinalis, and I put a photo in because this is renowned for being one of those moths that doesn't like to sit still. But it's a really nice moth, and chances are that if you trap from an urban garden such as this little pyrrhid will turn up. It's always nice. And I was saying to somebody only the other day that I'd not actually caught one of these this year, at least not that I can remember. And it is pretty much a late summer and autumn moth. So that's Hypsipygia glossinalis, and that's a nice moth and the first of the decent moths that's come in. We just await the next now. It seems generally very quiet. And I think I've gone deaf. I'm scanning the wall. It's surprising how things, or moths, can come in completely unnoticed, and then you suddenly see them sat on the wall. but it is still very quiet. I know we're mid-September now, and I'm not expecting a large trap list, no matter where I trap, not in September. But it has gone very quiet in terms of moth numbers and species this last week. Very little coming in here. Even the square spot rustics are slowing down now. And that must be, for the most part, down to the fine weather that we've had. It shortens the flight period of moths. Equally, wet weather does. Wet weather's not conducive to good numbers of moths. That shortens the flight period of moths. A traditional English summer of its characteristic mix of fine sunny days and periods of rain probably suits more species than long periods of fine sunny weather does. It's just coming up to 2200 hours. Well, quite a few species on the list, but what you'd expect, but there aren't many of those species that's on the list. There is one noctuid which has turned up. At first, when it was flying around the light, I thought it's another Vines rustic. It isn't. I haven't got a clue at this moment in time what it is. It's small, about the size of a small Vines rustic or a small wainscot, no larger than that. It's pretty colourless. The basic ground colour to the wings would be a sort of light, sandy straw colour. There's a slight, not a metallic element to it, but there's a glossy sheen to the wings. And the only marking that I can see is a single small white dot. I haven't got a clue what it is. It's not a very small clay or white point or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but hopefully, under the cold light of September the 16th, we may be able to unravel the mystery once we've looked at it in a better light, but I don't know what it is. It could just turn out to be something like a small, almost second brood smoky wainscot time, but from what I can see of the wings are pretty much featureless. So that's a little mystery for tomorrow. Have a small micro in here. I know exactly what it is, and I'm going to release it shortly. And it's Scrobipalpa ocellotella, a moth which first appeared in Nottinghamshire, I believe, in 2022, and appeared at numerous sites, as it did across much of the UK and up north. It probably reached Scotland, I'm not sure. Previously in the UK, it was only known from more coastal sites, and I think it fed on sea beet. It's obviously now utilised in our commercial sugar beet, which many farmers grow, and it wasn't sure whether the large numbers which appeared in the country last year were the result of genuine migrants, or that the moth had suddenly dispersed and spread inland. I think almost certainly it was down to a large eruption of migrants crossing the channel and then coming in and appearing at many people's moth traps. In fact, most people, if they recorded micros, would have recorded Scrobipalpa ocellotella. Now, tonight's record is the second I've had so far in the last couple of weeks. It may well be that good numbers appear again soon, but I've not heard mention of any being recorded. So it's one to look out for. It's a very attractive and well-marked gelishid moth. So that's Scrobipalpa ocellotella, almost certainly going to turn up in your trap. That's, of course, if you look at the micromoths that occur in your trap. Well, it's 22:15 and I've seen nothing come to the light that makes me think it's perhaps worth staying out longer. But I've enjoyed the 2.25 hours that I've had. Sometimes it's just the pleasure of being outside for a couple of hours. If you catch a decent moth, all well and good. If you catch a few moths, even better. It's not all rarities and high numbers. If you're after those, don't trap at home a lot. Trapping at home, I find very pleasurable. It's a nice way to spend a couple of hours. And now, time for inside. And a hot beverage, I think.